Hi Year 3. So all this week we are going to be trying to solve word problems using the skills and what we learned last week um, about length and different types of length and converting lengths as well. So let's have a look at today's guided practice. It's quite short, we only have 2 questions. Now the first one said, you might recognise this building. This is Tower Bridge, and this building is the Shard. They're both landmarks in London. The question says, how much taller is the Shard than Tower Bridge? So what the question is asking us to do is to find the difference in height between the two. Now think, are we going to be adding or subtracting to find the difference? Finding the difference, we will need to subtract, so we will. Now, we need to be careful whenever we're doing word problems using length and check that the units in both are the same. So the Tower Bridge is 64 metres and the Shard is 308 metres. So because they're both in metres, we can start to take away. So this is what our column method would look like. So the Shard is the bigger of the two, so it goes at the top. And Tower Bridge is smaller. Remember, we can't subtract using the small number on top. So the first thing we do, as always, is start with the ones. So 8 take away 5 is 3. Now we move on to the tens. 0 take away 6 we can't do, so we're going to have to regroup from the hundreds. It's the same as what we always do. Just because it's length, we can ignore that for now. So our 300s is going to become 200s, and our 010 is going to become 1010s. Now we can take away 10, take away 6, which will make 4. Now finally, we can work out our hundreds. 2 take away nothing is going to keep us at 2. Now we have our answer. We need to remember to put the units back on. So we've worked in metres and metres, so the units that we're going to use is still going to be metres. We're not going to magically change it to centimetres or kilometres. It's easier just to keep it in metres. Now question number 2 said, Emma travels from town A to the city passing through town B. So she starts here, she goes to town B and then to the city. Find the total distance she travels. So what is the question asking us to do? Are we going to be adding or subtracting? So she starts with town A to town B, and then after that she goes from town B to town C. So she travels 42 kilometres and then 98 kilometres. And we want to find the total distance, so we're going to be adding. Remember, if it's part, we need to be adding. Now again, we need to check that the units are the same. Because if they weren't, we would have to convert them so that they were the same to make it easier for us to add. So this is in kilometres and this is in kilometres, so we can start to add. Now remember, with adding, it doesn't matter which way around your numbers go because you'll get the same answer. So let's start with our ones again. 2 add 8 makes 10. So we're going to keep the 0 in the ones column and regroup those 10 ones into 110. Now we have 1, 4 and 9. So 9 add 1 I find easiest because that makes 10, and then add 4 would make 14. Now normally we would regroup into the hundreds, but there's nothing in the hundreds, so we can just write 14 at the bottom. Now remember again, we need to use our units. What units are we going to use? So both distances were given us in kilometres, so we're going to keep it in kilometres. Take your time today. Try and use bar models if you can to figure out if you're going to need to add or subtract, and always make sure you're writing your units. If this was a test, you wouldn't get your marks if you forget to put the proper units on. So just take your time and check the units, and I'll see you tomorrow for more word problems.